Today's lesson is on exponents. First, we're going to be looking at writing expressions using exponents. So for number 1, we have 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. The number in our problem, 1/4, would be our base. So we'll have 1/4. And then if we count how many times we have 1/4, that's going to be our exponent. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be 1/4 to the 5th power. When we have fractions, it is helpful to write parentheses so we know that this whole fraction, 1/4, is to the 5th power and that it's not 1 to the 5th power. For number 2, we have 3/10 times 3/10 times 3/10 times 3/10 times x times x. So we have two different things in this problem. We have 3/10 and we have x. So first we'll start with 3/10. We need to count how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3/10 is our base and 4 will be our exponent. So we have 3/10 to the 4th power. We also have x. So right next to this we can write x. That is going to be our base. And then we'll count our x's, 1, 2, and the 2 will then be our exponent. So this answer would be 3/10 to the 4th power times x squared. For number 3, we are going to be evaluating the expression. So we're going to be solving it. So for number 3, we have -5 to the 4th power. On this problem, we do not have any parentheses. So this is the same as saying negative times 5 to the 4th power. Or you could even say that it's -1 times 5 to the 4th power. So we need to use order of operations, which tells us that we do our exponent first, and then we go back and multiply our answer times that negative. So first we're going to do 5 to the 4th power, which is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. And then we will go ahead and multiply that by our negative, or you can say -1 if that helps. So 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125, times 5 is 625. So we have 625, and when we multiply that by a -1 or just a negative, we get -625. For number 4, we have -3 to the 3rd power, or we can say -3 cubed. This time our -3 is in parentheses, so it tells us that the entire thing, the negative and the 3, are all going to be to the 3rd power. So this one would be -3 times -3 times -3. So now -3 times -3 would be +9. So we have 9 times -3, and 9 times -3 is -27. And for number 5, we have -4 to the 2nd power, or -4 squared. The negative will go ahead and stay with the 4 because of these parentheses. So we know that we have -4 times -4. -4 times -4 would be +16. Now we're going to use the order of operations to solve a few problems. So for number 6, we want to find the absolute value of -3 cubed divided by 27. On this one here, we do not have any parentheses for our negative and our 3. So we do not have parentheses showing that they stay together. So we need to do the exponent first, 3 to the 3rd power, or 3 cubed, and then we go back and multiply it by our negative. So we're going to have negative, or you can say -1 if it helps, times 3 cubed, and then we have that divided by 27. So this is going to be -1 and then it's going to be times 3, times 3, times 3, and then we have divided by 27. Now we can go ahead and multiply. 3 times 3 would be 9, and 9 times 3 is 27, and 27 times the negative 1 would be negative 27. Since this is all a multiplication problem now, you don't have to worry about the order. So we could have just started with the negative 1 and said negative 1 times 3, and that'd be negative 3. And negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. Either way would be fine. The order does not matter once it's all multiplication. So now we have divided by 27. And you have to remember this is also absolute value. So now we're doing the absolute value of negative 27 divided by 27, which would be the absolute value of negative 1, because negative 27 divided by 27 is negative 1, and the absolute value of negative 1 is 1. And now for number 7, we have 9 minus 2 to the 5th power times 5/10. Our first step will be to do the exponent. So we're going to have 9 minus, and then notice that there's no parentheses, so this is just 2 to the 5th power. We don't worry about this minus sign, which could be a negative in front. We're going to go ahead and do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and then we're also going to multiply by 5/10. This part here is all multiplication, so it does not matter what order you multiply it in. So we'll go ahead and start multiplying. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So we'll have 9 minus 32, because that was 2 to the 5th power, and then we're still multiplying that by 5/10. You could have gone ahead and multiplied 32 times 5/10 for this step if you wanted to skip one step. I went ahead and wrote down 32 because that's what 2 to the 5th power equals. So now we're going to do our multiplication. If you want to think of this as negative 32 times 5/10, that's fine, or you can say 9 minus and then do 32 times 5/10. We'll go ahead and use this as a negative. So we have 9, and then if we have negative 32 times 5/10, we're going to get negative 16. So we have 9 minus 16, and 9 minus 16 is going to be negative 7.